And maybe I'll start it with our friend from Arkansas, right up in the top there. You were the first one here, so you get to go first.
I'm a general dentist with Cool Smiles here in Fort Smith, Arkansas. Looking forward to the trip. First trip anywhere distant from the United States, so that'll be neat.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
How did you get selected for this trip? And kind of just maybe for those who aren't familiar with Benevis, Benevis is a dental partner who will be part of this expedition. And they send a few dentists, hygienists, and office managers to support some of our projects and some of our dental clinics. This is their second partnership with CHOICE. And my first experience with the Benevis dental crew in Peru was amazing. They're dear friends of mine now. So you're in good hands. But yeah, how did you get the chance to come on this trip?
Well, we applied, and we had 36 people that were applicants, and I was one of the few that was lucky enough to be selected. Awesome. I've been doing this for almost 39 years, so it's not a new hobby for me.
Okay, and this is your first time traveling abroad outside?
Yes, sir.
Well, you were just going for it.
Oh yeah, well, go big or go home, as they say.
Well, that's awesome. You're in great hands. So very exciting. And Kim and Olivia, do you guys want to introduce yourselves? I'm going to unmute you here.
I'm Kim, and this is my 16-year-old daughter, Olivia. It was her idea to do a humanitarian mission. So she's why we're here.
Oh, great.
Well, that's awesome. Whenever it's her idea, that means that all the camping and the cold and the rain.
Right.
There's no room for complaining.
That's right.
She set you up for success on that one.
Yep.
Have you all traveled before abroad like this? Olivia, that kind of seems like a wild idea to propose. Where did that come from?
I have a lot of friends who do them that live in California, so I was like, why not do one?
Cool.
We have traveled abroad, but nothing like this. We've been to Europe, and that's very different than this, I think. So.
Okay, that's exciting. Well, good. So a couple newbies to the heading down south.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And I've got I've got someone else, I think, calling in. Is someone on the phone here that you've called in? Anyone calling in on the phone? I just want to check. I don't want to miss someone. Okay, well, perhaps not. We'll kind of move down the list. And I want to end actually with the introduction of our trip leader. So we're going to hold off on Megan and Patrick for a moment. Chris, do you want to take a minute and kind of introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. I see some very familiar names. It's nice to put faces to those names. I'm the one who's been hounding you for all your application materials. So thank you very much to everyone who sent everything in. If you haven't sent it in, please do that ASAP. I'm actually, I'm just in the back office. Jordan's out in our main area. I'm in here working on some expedition stuff. Yeah, I'm just glad to be part of the team. And if you ever have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me.
I swear we let him out of the back office. I know you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, he's just hounding paperwork and they don't even 6 o'clock, let him get out. We do have, Chris is an amazing resource who's going to be kind of your primary point over these next couple weeks, getting kind of the logistics together for our in-country team. And we've had a busy month too of about almost 6 expeditions heading out in about 6 weeks. And so thanks to Chris, that's all possible. So with that, I think we'll turn it over to the introduction of the trip leaders. But before I do that, I just want to throw up the agenda real quick. This is some of the items we're going to be covering. So because there's a smaller number of us on the call, and we'll see if more jump in, we'll pause maybe in a couple sections to see if you guys have questions. But as you look at this, just kind of know if you do have questions, they're probably going to get covered in some of these sections. And this certainly isn't your only chance to also ask questions. But these are some of the things we'll be covering tonight. And so I do want to just take a minute, maybe introduce myself just briefly. So I'm Jordan. I've been involved with CHOICE for a long time, and I help run the expedition program. I won't have the chance to be on this expedition, but I have had the chance to work very closely with everyone who is on this expedition. And I can tell you that you've just got an amazing team. I'm going to introduce in a minute this dear friend and wonderful woman next to me, Maxima. But I'll start by introducing kind of Megan and Patrick Amu. So they will be your expedition leaders. And I have had the chance to lead a trip with Megan recently last year in Kenya. And I can tell you the leadership team of Megan and Patrick is a fun one. You will laugh and have a very diverse set of experiences that are just going to keep you on your toes. Oh, wonderful. Come on in. We're going to pause here. We've got some people joining us. I take it you're our Ebert family. It is so great to meet you. Well, we've got most folks calling in right up here, but I'm going to turn this so you guys, and grab a seat. We are literally just doing introductions.
Great, thanks.
No, you're good. It's always intimidating to apologize for being late when you've got a big giant screen of people staring. So I know they're feeling, you guys can't see it, but there's a large projector of all of you just kind of thankful that you're here. So we were just going through introductions, and we'll get to you guys now in just a minute. But I'm introducing Megan and Patrick. So they've been involved with CHOICE for a very long time, including a long time where Megan was actually staff here at CHOICE working on all of our development initiatives. And her and Patrick, between the two of them, have spent time in all of our countries leading in various capacities. So I'll let them introduce maybe their specific thoughts they might share about themselves. But one of the unique things that you guys will have as participants is it's not always the case that you get a great leadership couple, right? And there's a great dynamic there. But it's not always the case that you get a leadership team who's had experience in all of our countries and also experience kind of working at CHOICE. So Megan, together with Patrick, just have a wealth of context for where we work, why we work the way we do, and they're kind of intuitive and great leaders. So you're in wonderful hands. With that, I'm going to maybe tee it up to Megan and Patrick to add anything else they'd like to there, and maybe why or how they continue to stay involved with CHOICE.
Sure. So I'm Megan. Thank you, Jordan. That was a lovely introduction, probably too kind. You set the bar really high. This is my husband, Patrick. And I have been involved with CHOICE for, I think, over 10 years now. I started working with CHOICE as a director of a foundation. And we supported about 10 different nonprofits, and CHOICE was one of them. And part of my job was to do site visits to the projects where we were sending the most money. So I went to Nepal, I went to Kenya to do project evaluations. And as I visited more CHOICE projects, I started putting more and more money into them because it was a safe bet. I loved the work that CHOICE was doing. CHOICE did the most with our money, and CHOICE did the most sustainable work. I lived in Angola, Africa for a year, and I was involved in a nonprofit that didn't do sustainable work, meaning that when the nonprofit left Angola, all the work would stop. And so I was a little, gun shy with international development work after that experience. But in seeing the work that CHOICE did, it just reinstilled my belief and commitment to poverty ending projects. I fully believe that ending extreme poverty in rural villages is possible. And I believe that because of working with CHOICE.
Everything she said. Now, I had the fortune to marry into CHOICE because when I married Megan, she'd already, she just explained, has been very involved with the organization. My first experience leading it was kind of a life-changing experience. We led an expedition to Nepal a few years back, and wow, it was unbelievable. I've traveled abroad quite a bit, but something special about being in Nepal really touched my heart, and yeah, it was amazing. Was Nepal first, or was it?
He cried.
Or was Guatemala first? Guatemala was first, and then Nepal. Yeah, so pretty excited to go to Bolivia. I haven't been to South America yet. I've lived in Central America for a few years. I speak Spanish. I know Latin America, Latinos pretty well. What else? You have to excuse me. I'm sweating. I just rode my bike across the street to the beach to meet a family member who.
Sounds real tough. Over
I
there.
don't know how.
Literally like 10 minutes ago.
You're not sympathizing with biking over to the beach in your sweat, Patrick.
Well, I have a cousin that was visiting me. He just barely texted me. He's like, "Hey, I'm at this certain beach," and I looked and I'm like, "You're across the street from my house." So I had to.
Real tough. So they're based in Hawaii.
Yeah. So I do speak Spanish. For those of you who don't know the language very well, you can definitely rely on me to make fun of you and make sure everybody else. No, I'm excited to go on this trip with you guys. It's gonna be a blast.
Well, an amazing leadership team, and maybe we'll just take a minute and let the Eberts kind of introduce themselves, because they represent. They don't just represent themselves; they represent a whole team here who's joining us. So we'll let you guys maybe introduce the family a little bit.
I'm Camille Ebert, and this is my Steve, and we will be joining the group with our 6 children. So our oldest turned 19. We have a daughter, Emily. We have a 17-year-old son, Jonathan.
Hey, Jordan, just so you know, we can't hear.
Okay, is it difficult to hear?
Yeah.
Move that up. Thank you, Megan.
Okay, is that better?
Yes. Yeah. Loud and clear.
So once again, my name is Camille Ebert, and this is my husband, Steve, and we will be joining the group with our 6 children. So we have a 19-year-old daughter, Emily, a 17-year-old son, Jonathan, a 15-year-old daughter, Annie, a 12-year-old daughter, Sophia, a 10-year-old son, Ezra, and our youngest is 8, and that's Mia. So we are super excited. We've actually traveled all over quite a bit internationally with them, and we've done some humanitarian work in Cambodia with them. And then my older kids have done humanitarian work in India and Peru, and my son's going to Ghana this summer, so they're familiar with that. This is our first CHOICE expedition, and we're super excited about it. We've always wanted to do this, so it's great.
Well, awesome. Yeah, you're in good hands, and I think we're all clearly in good hands with the Ebert family who will be joining us. So I do want to take a minute and introduce one of my favorite people who's right here, and let her also introduce herself. This is Maxima Mendoza. She's actually part of our in-country leadership team with her husband, Willie, from Bolivia, who's here right now in the States. So the timing is just wonderful. So Maxima, I'll let you kind of introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Maxima. Hola, Patrick. Español.
Hola.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Bien.
I work in Bolivia.
No.
Sí, claro.
Entonces, yo voy a ayudar en la expedición.
So
en Bolivia.
she'll be helping in the expedition, every part with you all. And everyone should feel very welcome. Maxima wouldn't share this, but her and Willie, they've been leading in-country operations in Bolivia. ¿Cuántos años ya? Almost 20 years. So the work that they've done, the commitment that they've put in over that time, spanning from their time as volunteers for a very long time to the organization. They're both dentists by training and have now really carried out an immense amount of work over a very long period of time. I put this photo up along with Willie and Maxima and some other members of the in-country team, just so that you all know every expedition is supported by your expedition leaders. That's Patrick and Megan, you know, us here at headquarters, and then largely and, you know, most importantly by an in-country team. And so we're going to talk just a minute about that, but I put them up here now, and we're lucky enough to have Maxima here so that you all know a few things are really under their care, right? Food, logistics, transportation, security. And we as a group, you know, you all plugging down are going to plug into a big family that's been doing a lot of work long before we arrive, and will continue that work long after we leave. And they will become family. I first met Maxima 10 years ago in Bolivia, more than 10 years ago, as you know, and I've lived with them. I've worked with her together for years, and, you know, consider her family. And I know many who spent time with her do. So really exciting part of the group. So, and very fun to have her here. And she'll be sharing some stuff with us here. Megan, maybe I'll just do a quick overview, or Megan, did you want to jump in on some of the choice model?
Sure, yeah. So CHOICE is an acronym, and it stands for the Center for Humanitarian Outreach and Intercultural Exchange. It's a nonprofit organization that's been around for about 30 years, founded by a PhD called James Mayfield. He actually, he's kind of a big deal, actually. I don't mean to pull from the movie Anchor, but really, Anchorman, he's a big deal. He used to consult with the government of Egypt and other high-profile governments on how to deal with rural poverty-ending projects. So then he founded CHOICE. So CHOICE's model is based upon his expertise, which is a proven model to end poverty. CHOICE works in 7 countries: Bolivia, Mexico, Nepal, Kenya, Guatemala. Huh? Yeah, Vietnam and Peru. And each country has native in-country teams. So you see Maxima sitting here. Every country that CHOICE operates in operates through staff that are native to that country. And why that's important is because they hold local and native expertise. And that's kind of the secret sauce, we feel like, to sustainable development. If an outsider is to go in to a rural village and try to do development work, that outsider isn't going to have the cultural knowledge that a local does. That outsider isn't going to have the trust that a local person would have. And it's going to be a tough road. The native in-country teams, they work with villages, about 10 to 30 villages at a time. Typically, a village will approach CHOICE when they want to better their lives. These really small villages, they all talk to each other. News spreads very fast. And so sometimes a village will hear of another village that did a water project. And that village, instead of spending 4 hours a day collecting water and getting clean water, now has a water system, and they just turn on the faucet and they have clean, fresh water. Well, that's really exciting. So if a neighboring village hears of that, they'll contact CHOICE and want to do the same thing. So part of the CHOICE model, and the reason why it's sustainable, is CHOICE organizes and mobilizes natural leaders in a village. And CHOICE will take these leaders and community members through the entire process of doing a development project. That includes a needs assessment, prioritizing which projects they want to do first, fundraising, networking, even project management, dealing with funds in a transparent way, all of that. So they're they're learning from CHOICE and they're doing at the same time, and then they're executing this project, and then CHOICE leaves and then they do the whole cycle on their own. It's really cool. CHOICE has a 5-pronged focus of environment, health, education, cultural preservation, and economic growth. Did you guys hear that right?
Sorry about that.
No worries, Tom.
Don't let it happen again.
And sometimes the projects that a village chooses will cover we'll cover a lot of different of these focuses. Sorry, that didn't come out well, but you get the idea. You guys know what I mean, right? Right, Jordan?
Oh yeah, you got it. And maybe I'll jump in here and just kind of
Sure.
add it. So this process, right, is taking place in every community, and Maxima and Willie, that's what they do. They're mobilizing and managing communities in this. And so while most of our communities, 20 to 30 in every country, 7 countries, in Nepal, for example, we have even more. We have almost 1,000 communities that we're working with at a larger scale. You can imagine that CHOICE, you know, we only do 30 expeditions a year. Communities in this process do not expect an expedition to plug in and infuse as part of their work with us. So expeditions are pretty rare, looking at the volume of communities that we work in, but they play a really important role. And I like to usually just kind of share one thought here, that expeditions come in at this phase, usually where a community is already executing a project that they've started. So we'll come in to a phase of a project, sometimes at the beginning, sometimes at the middle, sometimes at the end, and help accelerate that. It is where communities are running their own projects. They can take quite a long time on their own, which is fine. That's part of the process. But an expedition coming in catalyzes a community to rally some resources, maybe faster than it otherwise might be able to. And we physically can get a project advanced much further than it does. So there's definitely accelerating the execution side. But what it also does is it is a chance for communities to feel a high level of support. And that can be almost catalyzing, not just for that community, but for entire areas. And so it's not uncommon. It's almost kind of a beautiful part of this experience for communities to have this intercultural exchange and walk away going, wow, we are kind of a dot on a map, and we've been kind of grinding away with the CHOICE team here, and we were important enough for people to come from very far away and dedicate time and resources to kind of learn from us, to work for us, and to exchange together. And that leaves the community feeling a lot of ownership, a lot of empowerment. And then for all of us, which we'll find is, you know, we're going for sure to help support projects, but they're, you know, Ebert family, for those who've traveled around a lot, I think those of us on our end, that exchange is really powerful. And we come back with nuggets of experience that we might not have even anticipated. So for CHOICE, we've maintained a strong connection to the expedition opportunity. We feel like letting people come in appropriately at a phase of a project to learn about it, to understand how over 30 years we've evolved to approach development the way we have, is really powerful. And we think that the learning together is amazing. And then just so you all know, I do like to share this, that the expedition program for CHOICE, you know, the one community that we'll support, your coming is going to fund a few things. First, it covers your in-country costs, food, transportation, etc. It's going to fund a portion of that project that we're going to work on, and I'll talk about that. But about half of that fee is going to fund projects in countries and communities that we will never interact with. And so it's really a social business that fuels work in all of the 7 countries and all of the communities that will never experience an expedition. And so it's I know you're going to Bolivia, but you are having an impact in countries and communities and teams that are not part of this. And so I'd like for people to kind of know that. Just going to spend one thought here on this. some have traveled abroad. The Ebert's right. They mentioned a few places. We've had a few people here, for those who missed introductions, who this is their first time heading out of the States. And so what that means is I like to introduce the fact that we call it an expedition experience because it is just that. This is an off the beaten path form of travel that is very different from a tour, a cruise ship activity, A, B, or C that we might select, and certainly different than a lot of things we might experience here in the United States. And that is for the following reasons. You'll kind of see off to the left that part of what makes this experience so rich is there's a bunch of things that we can kind of know about, but we can't really control. And so today we're going to talk about all the stuff we do know, like our itinerary and safety and food, and a lot of that is in our control, and it's going to be about what we should expect, right, when it comes to being safe and secure and things like that. But starting now, we encourage participants to kind of take off the traveler tourist hat, and we might have some either acknowledged or even unacknowledged thoughts or expectations. Kind of take that off and put on kind of an active co-creator of the experience hat, which means you're going to be part of this, and collectively as a team, our job, Megan and Patrick, is to help with Maxima, to help us as a group navigate all of the things on the right that will happen to some degree. All the factors we can't control. So travel delays and project pace and personal health and things like that. And our goal as leaders is to make sure that when, not if, but when, you know, a combination of these unknown factors happen, that as a group, we have the right information that we need, that we have the right plans B, C, and D, and that we are communicating really clearly with you all as changes occur so that we all navigate them successfully, right? And so I put this up there now. You know, Megan joked about high bar or high expectations when I introduced them. We put this up here so we all kind of have, you know, expectations at the right level, that what is going to make this an experience is going to be how we all adapt to the change. And personally, what I think makes these experiences so rich is that this day and age, we have access to so much information and so much control about our lives that it is refreshing on a human level to get a little bit out of the comfort zone with people who are new to us, like all of us as this group, and kind of just navigate an organic experience together that will look very different at the end than we might have ever conceived of at the front. And I can tell you now, you know, 35 years, your trip and your experience with you all will never be replicated or happen again. And, you know, and that's going to be up to these factors and how you navigate that. And so it's what makes this special, and something to look forward to. Megan, Patrick, did you guys want to jump in on this part, or?
Sure, yeah.
Patrick really wants to jump in on this part.
Okay, we'll just kind of do a high-level overview of the itinerary. You guys have seen this, but this is kind of a good chance to just jump in with questions too.
Yeah, so it's basically my experience. I'm looking at the itinerary. It's kind of in three parts. We're gonna get there, and then the first day in the morning, travel from the airport to, looks like we're going to the Copacabana. So you guys better get that Barry Manilow song memorized. I think they were probably talking about Rio de Janeiro, but
Same thing.
Titicaca, same thing. Yeah, so in my experience in the past, this first day is pretty cool. We get to, you know, cruise around and see a little bit of the local sites and enjoy ourselves a little bit and gear up for the next day. The next day, we're going to be traveling from Copacabana to the village, and then once we get there, we're going to...
And that involves a boat, just so you guys know. It involves a boat.
Boat, plane within a 24-hour period here. So
yeah. Or stand-up paddleboard. We should get a couple of those.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a good time for all of us to get to know each other and tell jokes, hang out, talk. And then when we get to the village, then we're going to kind of set up and orient ourselves there. And then for the next few days, three days, it looks like, we're going to be engaged in the project, and that's where the magic happens. And then from there, we're going to leave and decompress a day on before we come back
In
home.
La Paz.
In La Paz, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to add a little map perspective here, I've mentioned this to probably some of you guys. This is one of the more diverse expeditions in 7 days, my experience here at Choice, for a few reasons. One, you know, you're going to the Altiplano, which is at like 13,000. So you're on top of the world at the world's largest navigable lake. And you're, you know, early morning, we're heading out there. But because we got that time to climatize at Copacabana, it gives us a day and a half to kind of explore what is, if you haven't already, I encourage you to do a little research on the town of Copacabana, and you'll find that while, you know, it might not be the one songs are written about, it is pretty special for a few reasons. And there's a lot to explore there. And then the community itself is, as you can kind of see here, on the lake itself. We're on the island of the sun, which is peppered with Incan ruins and history and culture. And so part of your experience as participants is going to be kind of traveling from the airport. You'll see here this bus ride is it's comfortable. We'll be on an old Choice restored bus that is near and dear to my heart, because when I was maybe 20, I was living in Bolivia and I painted that bus.
Yeah, that's
and
really,
it's still there and still functioning. So that bus is going to get us there. Traffic can be kind of crazy, and it's in this highways and road construction, so it can just be a little rough, a little hot, and kind of steamy, but really interesting to leave what is kind of the urban sprawl of La Paz and see what that looks like, which is a really interesting experience. That kind of what we talk about, like large city urban slums, and we'll kind of see what that was, you know, a city being built by the day, and then head to the most beautiful Altiplano, and it just kind of gets more rural, remote, and beautiful as we get to the lake. You'll hop on kind of a ferry to cross over, and then be there for that Saturday. And then Sunday, as Patrick mentioned, we'll be heading onto the lake, onto the island itself, and getting into the community about Sunday afternoon.
So a couple things about Sunday that you may want to plant in your mind. We are going to be tired, so we're going to arrive at the airport super early, and then we'll be on a 3-hour plus bus ride. You can relax and decompress in the hotel, absolutely. And there are some wonderful things to see in Copacabana, the village where we'll be staying. There's a Sunday market. There's a wonderful walk to a cathedral. The town itself is gorgeous. And so just know that you can relax and do whatever you like. But I will be taking those that want to the Sunday market, and Patrick, if you want to come, and to the cathedral. So there'll be activities going on Sunday if you're up for it, and you may not want to miss out on those. Just a little FYI.
Yeah, that's great. And there's going to be an orientation that night, and you'll kind of take it minute by minute, depending on when we get in and traffic and things like that. And then early Monday morning, we'll be heading out on a boat over to see a few of the Incan ruins, and then getting into the community itself where we'll be, which is, you'll see the thing up in the map there that says Isla del Sol. So that's where first night here in Copacabana, boat, and we'll be on this backside of the Isla del Sol. And I'm going to let Maxima in a minute kind of talk about that. But then we'll be there through Friday, and then early Saturday, heading back from here all in one swoop to get back to La Paz for kind of what will hopefully be kind of a longer afternoon there. And La Paz we'll be staying in the Hotel Presidente. So, and here's just a few little snippets of kind of the range that we'll be driving along. And since we've got Maxima here, we'll let her kind of introduce a little bit of the community and the village and how they started to work with Choice. We won't spend a lot of time here, but for some context, Maxima, si quieres puedes introducir la comunidad.
Chayapampa es la parte de norte
Yep. So this is in the north part of the island, as you're looking at the map.
Vamos a construir, ellos por sí solos han construido ya un aula.
So the community itself, much like Megan mentioned, reached out to Choice and a while ago and had expressed an interest in collaborating. ¿Puedes explicar cómo Willy les dijo que primeramente hagan algo?
Ellos vinieron a Choice pidiendo ayuda porque tienen pocas aulas.
So they had come to Choice asking for help because they had a lot of students and not enough classrooms in the space. And so Willie, who you'll meet, had let them know, which is very common, that the budget is not in place to help build schools, but why don't you guys take some of these suggestions and some ideas and see what you can start to move forward with. That's usually a pretty common first step.
Entonces ellos ya han construido la primera parte del aula y nosotros vamos a hacer la segunda parte.
So for those, if you go, or I'll show you right here. So they took that advice from Willie and with kind of some clear instructions, and where Willie said, why don't you guys get started, see how far along you can get, and reach out to us when you feel like you're ready for this certain phase. And so they have actually got together and funded on their own the first level of what are 2 classrooms. And what this project will now be doing is coming in to support finishing that. And it's a great example of kind of how
Este lugar es un poco más diferente a todos los proyectos porque los materiales de construcción tienen que pasar por medio del agua.
So there's a couple challenges. This area is really unique to some of the other areas where Choice works because the materials need to get transported by boat. So this just logistically makes it difficult. Oh yeah, and so so some of those materials and things like that, preparation wise, will be there, will have been kind of put in place.
Este es un lugar muy bonito para toda la de las ruinas que habían profundas.
So really, this is why I mentioned it's unique. She's saying this is a really beautiful place to be. You're going to see the island in all of its different parts. We'll see some ruins, we'll see where the community is. You can see some of so here's an example, right, of there's some sections where tourists would go and visit on the far other side of the island, which you'll see. There's ruins. Here's the community itself. One of the most beautiful lakes and spaces I've seen in Bolivia. So the 2 classrooms are going to be a big part of the project. And then because of the Benevis dental partner, hey, Lovey. Yeah? Okay, I'll come get it in a minute, okay? Thank you. Sorry, I've got my little daughter here, and she's helping the expedition orientation over there with some don't worry about it, love. I'll come grab it. And so the other part is with the dental partnership with Benevis, which is unique, but a very powerful experience. We have the dental team who's coming. Maxima and Willie are dentists by training. So we'll be facilitating a rural dental clinic as part of the project itself. So about targeted towards kids. So there's going to be, for 3 days while we're there, a pretty busy dental clinic oriented for children in the school. So it's about 200 patients, and if our dentists are anything like the Benevis dentists I've had the chance to work with in the past, they're rock stars and going to be pretty amazing. And so Maxima, who has a lot of experience managing what is a rural dental clinic, is working closely with them, and there's going to be some opportunities for participants to plug into certain supportive roles. There will be 3 dentists coming, as well as 2 dentists and kind of a office coordinator. And so that office coordinator, together with Maxima, will really focus on plugging participants into supporting that. And most of that is going to look like working on cleaning materials, and there's kind of prep that goes into everyone being able to do that, as well as kind of fetching tools helping manage patients. It's kind of a system and ticketing system that we go through for that. But really exciting. So this means that this is going to be a busy time in the community, and a lot of activity and a lot of curiosity. One of my favorite moments. Oh, I actually have a video that I wanted to show. Hold on just a moment. It's very short, and it's from the previous expedition with Benevis. So hold on just a moment as I get this up right here. We're going to share this. Alarmed by my hundreds of emails that haven't been read. Okay. Are you all able to see this okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is Libet, and this is Samuel, and they're going to be training today with the three dentists and shadowing them because they have an excitement and an interest in learning about dentistry.
So, as you can see, it is pretty exciting to have that be a part of an experience. And the last little kid who was smiling there, I actually remember him because he was a very kind of gregarious personality. And he was waiting in line telling us which teeth he was excited for them to pull out. I want this one out, and this one's bugging me. And so just a unique experience to have as part of it. And we're thankful for the Benevis team. And I know some are calling in, they're spread out all over the States. But they're going to be rock stars and doing some amazing work. So very thankful there. Stop for a minute, maybe just to see if anyone has any questions to date with some of the stuff we've covered. No? Real quick, I'm sorry, I had to step up and say, for those who have small kids, what do you envision kind of role someone like a 10 or 12-year-old? Oh yeah, Megan, do you want to maybe answer that? The question was, they've obviously got a family, they've got some small kids. How do you, in all of your experience, how do you see kids plugging into projects generally, but the community involvement?
So it's always really cool when kids come on expeditions. In my years of travel, the kids of the villages are often saying, like, why do only adults come? Why do only adults come? We want children to come. We want to play with them. We want to see kids from different parts of the world. And so big role that children expeditioners can play on expeditions is engaging with the local kids, whether that be with a soccer ball, a frisbee, playing games. It's really cool to see, but just having a peer, a foreign peer on the expedition is a really big deal. And so I think sometimes children will work alongside their parents in the construction aspect of an expedition, and then sometimes they're just off playing with the kids and coloring and playing soccer. So I would say the biggest contribution children can play on an expedition is playing with the local kids.
Yeah, kids tend to diffuse a community barriers, which a part of the experience for sure is going to be this process where everyone, relaxes and the community kind of allows themselves to engage and laugh with one another and with us. And that happens different in every community. I find that kids are the ones that kind of go in, break the ice, and everyone follows that lead. and there's some things that we can share to help facilitate that. But and then the dental clinic, we had some kids on our trip to Peru, and they actually played a big role waiting with kids, walking them through the experience. The first time kids have ever been to a dentist, likely. And so having kids play a role in, as part of the dental component, there's also some dental hygiene education that'll take place in the classrooms for groups that are waiting. And so I can picture that being a really exciting thing for them to kind of come in with and share. So, and just kind of hear a few little snippets of some of the rich culture. Patrick's going to dive into here to explain to us, you know, what the nuts and bolts of an expedition week look like once we're there. But I just put this here up. You know, I mentioned it's a diverse experience. Bolivia is culturally really unique for South America, kind of the heart and epicenter of a culture that's been around for thousands of years, evolved through many different civilizations, and maintained a rich ethnic and cultural identity. The Quechua and Aymara are so special, and they're the mix of modernity and rich history is nowhere like it is on Lake Titicaca, where you guys will be. So it's a pretty unique group you'll see. And with that, I'll kind of tee it off to Patrick to kind of walk through.
Really fast, Jordan, since you brought up that point, I'm wondering if you or Maxima can talk a little bit about the indigenous aspect of the village that we'll be working in.
Yeah, Maxima, ¿quieres compartir un poquito de la cultura y de la cultura indígena de los que están en esta comunidad de Pampa?
La isla es un poco más de la cultura inca.
Yep. So the island definitely has some of the Incan culture.
Porque el lago Titicaca tiene una historia.
So this area of Lake Titicaca shares a lot of the same story and history of Peru, right? They're all in
Piensa que habían anteriores dioses que habían salido del lago Titicaca.
And so some of the Incan belief is that, which spread up the whole Andean area, is that the gods of their culture really sprang forth from the lake itself. So this is kind of the epicenter. And from here, they went to Cusco. So there's the Incan culture, and then there's the Aymara culture, which predated by about 1,000+ years the Incan culture, who kind of came in.
Entonces nosotros tenemos esta parte de la reserva, todavía parte de la cultura aymara, con una mezcla del
So what's really unique is you're going to see a lot of the pre-existing roots of the Aymara culture. You're going to see the blending of the Incan theology and history and culture. And then on top of that, you're going to see what is common in all of South America, which is the Spanish colonial culture. And Copacabana will be an amazing example of all of these blending because it is a Spanish colonial pilgrimage town. And so on top of all that, just the mix of living in the year 2017. So that's really all blended and preserved in kind of a chaotic, organic blend of culture that is just, I've never seen anything balanced in such a way.
The reason why, Jordan, I thought that was important to note is that we'll be working with a village that's Aymara, is because, and this is kind of the situation with most villages that CHOICE works in, is they're indigenous. And so oftentimes these villages only speak their indigenous language. They don't speak the national language, which further isolates them from resources because they can't reach out to the government because the government's speaking Spanish, not Aymara typically. I don't know in this village if it's going to be super cut and dry, if most everyone's going to be speaking Ayamaran or Spanish, but that's one thing to keep in mind. Maybe Maxima can let us know about that. Will they be speaking Spanish also, Maxima?
So the youth and children speak Spanish.
Okay.
So the older generations speak Aymara, usually with some conversational Spanish, and then the youth are Spanish speaking. Will be a thick kind of Aymara accent, and yeah, Megan makes a great point. What's unique about Bolivia is La Paz, all the areas, these are predominantly indigenous populations. So La Paz, over 60% of the population or the surrounding area is Aymara. And so that creates some really interesting things, which you'll discuss more in country political environments and social environments. But it does play, unfortunately, even though these populations are kind of the heart of the culture, and certainly the majority population have, for since Bolivia's national inception, been the most neglected. What a lot of that is changing for the better. So, Patrick?
Am I going over just the day-to-day? Oh, cool. All right, so this is exciting. You can see from the pictures, we're going to all be eating meals together. You're going to look forward to the meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner. It's pretty awesome. In my experience, food's been amazing. So if you're picky or if you're worrying about that, no problem. The village life is actually my favorite part because you're really going to see the wide range of kind of the diversity in the village. What I like most is like the kids. The kids are they're gonna cling to you, and there's gonna be a couple characters that are gonna stand out way out. And every time I go, there's always like a handful of kids that are, and because they're gonna be able to speak Spanish and the native language, it's gonna be fun to do a little, have them translate phrases for us and learn how to say certain things. And if you're a shy person, you're gonna want to gravitate towards some other people in the expedition. I would say try to reach out and just get involved with the locals a little bit more. Megan and I will be making the rounds, answering questions or anything like that.
A good icebreaker in terms of that is pictures. So like you can take a picture of a group on your camera and then show it to them. That's like just a no-brainer if you want to, an easy way to engage with the community.
Usually playing soccer or football, but I don't know, 12,000 feet. We're gonna be huffing and puffing up there.
Yeah.
So as you can see down here, the picture of where we're all gonna be sleeping next to each other, on top of each other there. We're gonna be close, so it's gonna be awesome. If you're sensitive to snores and stuff like that, bring some earplugs. But it's awesome. We're gonna have a ton of fun.
And I'll just add maybe a few little logistical things to just take note of here. So that we will be camping. We'll be sleeping in classrooms, 2 classrooms as part of the school where we'll be. So what that means is we'll divide up as a group into these spaces. So it's a shared space. Everyone can make sure to bring 2 things: a pad that you're comfortable sleeping on. ¿Traeremos los colchas que tienen o no? Okay. Yeah. So they will have. I was just asking if the team has these kind of straw mats that they bring. They are very comfortable. You can, if you'd like, and you want to be really sure that you're comfortable, supplement that with a camping air mattress. Now, I recommend a blow-up, like 1-inch camping mattress. I don't recommend. I now really discourage like a mechanical, larger like air mattress, because we find that they just deflate, they pop, they just aren't as resilient. And while there is electricity in the space where we will be, we'll have access to that. I would focus on, you'll see kind of some photos there, just making sure that you've got a smaller camping mattress if you'd like to bring one. The straw mattresses are comfortable, they're harder, but and then a warm sleeping bag. Everyone's going to need sleeping bag that's meant for, I would say, 4 seasons. You saw the temperatures up there. So you folks from Hawaii, looking at you, Patrick, warm sleeping bags.
I'll just be cuddled up with this one, so I'm okay.
I'll be sleeping in the girls' room.
What?
Okay.
Me too, then.
Warm sleeping bags and lots of layers. And then you'll be, as you can kind of see the space, you'll be in and out, kind of living out of your bag. So families, you guys will have your system, right, for all your kids, but you're kind of in and out of your bags. And so having a bag that's easy to get in and out of is helpful. Sometimes that is not a backpacking backpack, but maybe like a duffel bag. And you're kind of in and out of it. And as you get there, you'll settle in, you'll set a space together as a group. And that first night, you'll go over some rules in the space to kind of make sure everyone's clear on how we navigate that with, as positively as possible. But it is a fun part of the experience, and we do make it safe. So, and food is just great. So,
how secure is so like you brought a nice camera to have, but you're out working?
Yeah, so we'll have this usually the space where we're at, or usually a part of the kitchen where the team will be helping with food. We'll have a lockable space for the things that we're just worried about, and we want to make sure that they're safe. Communities are really respectful of our space, and so that said, we encourage everyone to things that you're make sure they're in our lockable space. But yeah, you definitely can bring it. I like to tell people to not, find targeted times where you're out in the community with maybe your nice camera, maybe not all the time, but a little window here, another window there, or keeping it in a backpack on you. As long as you keep that backpack with you is a great way to make sure it's safe as well. And Patrick, and Megan have kind of talked about some of these dynamics that the day is going to be split between working and seizing opportunities with the community, and Megan and Patrick's job is going to be helping facilitate those opportunities, listening to you all and helping facilitate things you might have identified, and then connecting all the dots with the team to make that happen. And there's going to be a lot of time for learning and a lot of time for exchanging, and Megan and Patrick are there to kind of facilitate that with the team. And you encourage so much conversation, Q&A. Some of that will be structured at night or in the mornings, where you'll actually learn with community members. And then some is just going to be informal. And so go in knowing that that's a big part of that. So, and just kind of wrapping this up, we've hit all these themes, but CHOICE is now 35 years been doing this, and there's definitely some common experiences that we see that tee people up or groups up for success. And I mentioned there's that list of stuff we know and don't know and are going to happen. And when those changes happen, having a really good sense of flexibility is so helpful for us. I think you couldn't have two better leaders to help capture the group culture and make sure that humor is a rich part of that. And this third one I'll mention maybe in a little bit more detail, but it's starting now just being really aware of you or your travelers who are going with you about what your concerns or questions might be, and eliminate any hesitancy you might have to get answers to those. So the Facebook group is a great tool for that. For family and things like that, just if your kids are on Facebook, not everyone is, but that's a good place to loop them in and get them reading stuff and meeting folks to take some kind of preparation as well. But start communicating that, and then you're going to see when we're out there, there's a lot of moving parts. And so everyone needs to pay close attention to how they're doing physically, particularly with this altitude, how you're doing kind of socially, and just if you need space, and how others are doing. Because Megan and Patrick are not going to be able to observe everyone at all times. So you guys will automatically kind of you've got your system down for your kids. But as long as everyone's keeping an eye on each other, then we make sure as a group, we have a really positive imprint on the community. And then the third part of being mindful is just, acknowledging, and this is never a problem, but that CHOICE and William Maxim have worked really hard to build relationships with communities who are oftentimes very skeptical about international development. Communities are skeptical about support and collaboration with NGOs sometimes. And in Bolivia, it's not a bad thing, but communities are kind of skeptical about folks from the US or from Western countries. And so CHOICE has worked really hard to build that trust up. So there's this window of opportunity for us to leave the best impression to that community and strengthen the trust CHOICE has built, and also strengthen, we've had a globally, how would I say this? We've had a political election that has drawn a lot of international attention, and particularly in South America, there is questions that we might get about what does that mean, and what, help us understand more about America. We might have concerns here, there, or there, and I've seen that in most countries where I've been of late. And this is a great opportunity to engage people with, the best side of who we are and why we've been. And so with that, I think I'll maybe let Megan or Patrick.
I can cover it.
Yep, kind of talk just a little bit about the 3 key rules. This is most important in country, but.
Okay. Yeah, number 1, no gifts. You don't want to leave like a Game Boy or something and cause societal collapse within a year. Because no, we're not going to give gifts out to the locals. Just no proselytizing, obviously. If you have a certain particular faith that you subscribe to, or just keep that under wraps. I mean, these things can tend to be very touching, and obviously, let those emotions out and let them be known. And at the same time, let's not try to convert anybody to any particular religion. And no promises. We're not going to promise that we're going to send something in the future or do anything. Maybe you can touch on that one a little bit more. No promise.
Yeah, just as Patrick mentioned, you're going to be feeling a lot of stuff. It's going to be really emotional, and the people in these villages are so great. They're just, they have amazing spirits, and that's can be overwhelming. So you're going to want to say, oh yeah, and you're going to see the need. You're going to see the need. So it would be easy to say, oh yeah, I can send you some money, or I'll go back home and I'll bring more people. You're really, really going to want to help. But there is a right way to help. And I feel like through the course of 30 years, CHOICE has really kind of nailed it. And that's, no handouts. That's, following kind of the strict method of how the in-country teams work with the villages. So
that's great. Very well said. One thing I'll add on the no gifting, I know one of the questions people have is, but is there stuff we can bring? And there definitely is. The types of, no individual gift giving, right? So if we're bringing things, we just don't hand out a bouncy ball, we don't hand out candy, because as Patrick mentioned, the communities, they also don't expect that. And so that's not their expectation. This is a program they're running that we're supporting, and we want to keep that dynamic in place. But the things that are good to bring are things that facilitate interaction. And so what that means is things that will leave a memory and not an actual thing. So bubbles, finger paint, nail polish, photos from home, like Megan mentioned. And then also a bunch of things that we can leave, but in the right way, like sports equipment, basketballs and pumps, volleyballs, soccer balls, hula hoops, not hula hoops, that seems really impractical to travel. Jump ropes. Things like that can be utilized throughout the week, particularly with kids, to facilitate interaction. And then we will collect that all at the end and leave it with the school administrators Usually it's kind of part of a farewell, so everyone knows, hey, there are some things that have been donated, but to the school or to the community through the leadership, and that's how we go about that. So if you have questions about things to bring, definitely reach out, and we will field some of those questions as they might come up. And then with that, just kind of the packing list you all have, and I've hit a few things right around layers and things like that. I do just want to, we'll put that up and kind of maybe just end on Q&A for as long as we need to on packing and things like that. But I just want to talk a little bit about the visa process, and thanks to those of you who dove in a little bit. As things go, certainly in Bolivia, it iterates and changes kind of on a fluid basis, which can make it feel difficult to know clearly what is needed. And so right now, and I put a post on Facebook that kind of broke it down as well. This is what's required. There has been a change, which is everything is required. They're not even going to look at some of it, but don't come prepared to have it. And the item that is no longer required, the international certificate of yellow fever vaccination. It was never a medical concern in the areas where we were at, but they used to require it for entrance.
No, come here. Don't go in there.
But you still had to get it. Now they have changed that to recommended traveling from a certain country with the actual problem. So if you're coming from the States or Canada or something like that, it is not required. I'm going to send you in your pre-travel packet, like right before you leave, a letter from CHOICE, as well as kind of a screenshotted, image from the consulate that says it's recommended, not required, just because it's really difficult to tell what your experience will be like securing the visa.
Hi, sweetie. Are they talking to you?
Sorry.
And so, otherwise, these items are required, and you'll want to have them. And for a family, most of these will suffice for the whole group. But if there's any questions, the visa is secured upon entrance, and it's a very fast process. You get it right in the airport, as long as everyone's kind of got their stuff. What I do recommend is that the cash that you have is really kind of current or newer bills, and that you have exact change, so 20s essentially. Because of all the things that they require, the only thing they check is how crisp is this bill. and that might feel frustrating if you prepared all these things. Sometimes they look, sometimes they don't. And it, is just the process there. So with that, questions, yeah.
Currency, so that's Visa. They're obviously currency.
U.S. dollar.
When we're down in La Paz, or do they accept U.S. currency, or you're going to create that?
Yeah. So currency, great question. So we recommend, so Bolivianos is what you'll use, and that exchange rate varies between 7 and 8 to $1, sometimes less. But there are two ways to get that. One would be at your international airport in the U.S. That's Miami, likely for people. There will be some currency exchange there. You could get some there. But what we recommend is getting it upon arrival that first morning. We're not in a hurry Sunday morning when everyone arrives. So we've got time to kind of chill out, get our bags, and there are ATMs there. And just direct withdrawals from the ATM is the best option. You get the best exchange rate, and then you can get as much money as you need. Because we'll be going straight to Copacabana, that is going to have some chance to buy stuff. And some market opportunities, then you might want, some money to spend on some souvenirs and things like that while you're there. So $200, $300 would probably be more than sufficient. In families that might vary, but and then once we get back to La Paz, there's definitely more ATMs, very accessible right by the hotel. And there is a lot of other markets and things like that. So I might say, hang tight on your souvenir pickups for the first day or two, because it will pause. You will have opportunities, but then again, you know, you see something, you just have to have, I can't guarantee you'll find it again. So questions on that. Máxima, ¿habrá la oportunidad de comprar artesanía de los miembros de la comunidad? Okay. Eso quizás sería algo que podemos programar como hacia el final. Okay. So I was just asking Maxima if there's a chance. Some communities do have, and I thought this one would, the chance to buy some stuff from the community, because the island does receive some tourists transit through. A lot of people are going to sell one-off stuff. Probably tell you it'll be higher price, you know, and things like that, but it can be nice. And we'll usually, we were just saying that we'll likely find a time to coordinate to set up a little pop-up market, maybe towards the end, where everyone can bring stuff, and so that might be nice to do as well. So other questions on packing, medical side, I recommend, even though you don't need to have the yellow fever vaccination, I do recommend that you visit a travel clinic to get up to speed on some of the things that you would normally have for international travel. So for those who haven't traveled, that's going to look like, you know, getting up to speed on your tetanus and maybe typhoid, and they'll also be able to prescribe you a few things that are helpful for international travel. And while we will have some resources to help support medical needs as they arise, we'll have oxygen for those dealing with altitude sickness. But there's Diamox. It's an altitude sickness medication that is strongly recommended for folks to have. And so that's kind of a key one. There's other antibiotics that help deal with diarrhea, or general antibiotics that can be prescribed to you as well, and that are really good to have when something settles in, to just nip it in the bud sooner rather than later. Yeah, and Maxima and Willie will have coca tea right in the airport, and I want to alleviate some concerns here, because sometimes people hear that this is coca leaf. It is for sure the initial raw unprocessed input for cocaine. However, as an unprocessed leaf serves a lot of really valuable medicinal purposes, any doctor will tell you that that is the best go-to for altitude sickness. And so we'll have that tea pretty on tap should you need it for the first day or two. And I would encourage you to not be too concerned if you might. It's just a drug, or you know, what am I taking? Will this show up? It won't be a problem in that sense, and it can be very helpful. It's not the only solution, so there's definitely other things if you feel more comfortable with that. But it'll be something you'll see quite a bit in Bolivia in general, in the communities, and people chew on it, and lots of it over time can stimulate or suppress an appetite. Help people stay awake longer. And for those who work in agricultural settings, it's a big part of the Altiplanos culture. It's a big part of their religion as well. Other questions? We've covered lots of stuff. If you're unmute, Megan. Questions, concerns, excitements?
I have a question. What is the best bag to pack in? Duffel bag, backpack?
You know, different strokes for different folks, but I have landed on a certain type of duffel that I absolutely love. So I do a duffel because backpacks, one, we're not going to have to carry our stuff a lot of places. De la lancha hasta la comunidad, ¿tenemos que llevar las cosas o cómo? ¿Cuánta distancia? Okay. Okay. So as I was saying that, I realized that, well, in this expedition specifically, that might not be the case, because the community is off the coast there. And she gave a resounding, well, yeah, you're going to have to carry some stuff. But we will have help, and we will have donkeys and support there. So that said, though, I recommend a duffel bag with backpack straps. So there are a couple types that are sold that are really water resistant. And North Face has one, Patagonia has one. There's also different ones that it's a bigger duffel. They make in various sizes, and it just has some straps that can be thrown over for the little instances where you need it. But don't feel like you need to buy that for this trip. If you have a camping backpack, a bigger one, you can certainly use that. The only challenge is where you're getting in and out of your bag often. Those backpacks stack kind of horizontally. It means if you need to get a sock at the bottom, you're kind of taking out the whole, carnival to get there. Okay. And so that can be, okay, a little bit of water. So yeah, that's the main challenge there, but you're not going to need to be backpacking around too much without the help. Wheeled luggage is fine, but it's just going to get tossed around a little bit more, and so it's more prone to, okay, we're just going to hear you for you.
And we don't need to try to pack into a small carry-on bag. We can
you can
bring a bigger one.
Duffel, for sure, and that'll work great.
Okay.
And then I do recommend kind of those Ziploc or compressed travel packs inside where you might put in, t-shirts in one, pants in another, and they kind of zip up, and that can help organize your content in a big duffel bag, so it's not a big mess. We'll all be living out of them for a few days. Yeah, any other questions or anything? That's up to you. It is. Okay. 2 minutes. It is cold, and it's going to be windy, but it's definitely, you want to get in, you can. It's a cold body of water that is awesome. Se puede bañar en el lago, ¿no? Yep. Yeah. So that's definitely on the table. And bathing suit, things like that are helpful. We'll have some, there won't be a shower where we're at, but for those who want to jump in or want to bathe, we can definitely set up something if you need to, and we've done that in the past. We have some solar showers and things like that. Well, great. Any other questions from those online? This isn't your only chance, so we'll definitely be able to answer more. But
Mommy, more stuff.
The whole family event here. It's great. Well, wonderful. Megan, will probably be in the next 10 days or so, you'll be able to get those answered. He's laughing at our family-friendly orientation.
You see Bird? Say hi, Bird.
Hi, Bird.
Ready for dinner and a little tired. Well, great. And yeah, we'll be, for you guys, if you have any questions, we'll be here as well. But take care, everyone. Send your questions.
Oh, you know what? Before you sign off, I thought of something else.
No.
It said on there, no jeans.
Yeah, that needs to be removed.
Okay.
You're more than welcome. I actually encourage one pair of jeans. It's like a solid pair of working pants every day. And for those thinking about, I'm packing a lot, I need a new pair of clothes every day, I recommend an approach where you have one pair of clothes.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Morning, you change out of that in the afternoon, and then you've got some camp type clothes that are more comfortable, they're clean, and that allows you to bring a little bit less. And that's kind of my approach. So casual and quick dry pants are great, and we definitely want some of those as backups. Jeans are definitely, you want a good hardy, warm. I would encourage people to tights and things like that, because So yeah, so great question. And actually, this is an old slide where we have since removed the policy. Okay.
Thank you.
Other questions?
To do it.
Well, good. And we'll meet, I think, the rest of the Benevis Dental crew in country. So we're glad to have an ambassador on behalf of all of you join us from Arkansas.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, take care, everyone.
Thank you.